In celebration of 20 years of Xbox, I wanted to do a countdown of my 20 favorite original Xbox games. You know, as always, when it comes to making lists, this was tough, but it was also a lot of fun to do going back down memory lane, pretty much to reestablish just some of my all time favorite games, as you'll see on this list. And without wasting too much time, let's jump into number 20. It's Black. Black was this awesome, very innovative first-person shooter from back in the day, and it's playable on modern Xbox One and Series X consoles if you're interested in it. But yeah, this game was awesome. This is one of those games that I have very fond memories of, just because of I'm a sucker for games that have fun gameplay and things like that. So yeah, Black at number 20. At number 19, we got Fusion Frenzy. And what can I say? Party games is something that I don't think we see much of anymore, right? I don't know, but Fusion Frenzy was one of those awesome party games you play with your friends, if they're over on the weekends or something. And it's really done much to it. This is a genre that I definitely wouldn't mind if Xbox explored more. You choose your character, you have go through a bunch of mini games, and the one with the most points wins. It's pretty much that straightforward, and yet with the right people, it's a lot of fun. This is a game where, it's definitely a game of yesteryear, in the sense that I don't know if I see myself playing it much these days, which, to be honest, in my personal life, I don't really have many gamer friends like that. But still, hey, if you want to talk about a game where you and a bunch of friends could just fuck around with, Fusion Frenzy was that game. And at number 18, we have Halo Combat Evolved. This is the game that changed everything. It really was. This is the game that made Xbox the heavy hitter it is now. This is the game that just shook the world on its head. I remember, man. Oh man, you're gonna notice something with this list, and I think it's fitting. It's just that so much memories, right? And with Halo Combat Involved, when you talk about a game that me and not only friends but just random people I was going to school with, we'd hang around and just played Halo. For a moment there, Halo ruled the world. And if you don't understand the impact this game has had, well, I don't know what to tell you, man, because that's how brilliant Halo was. At number 17, we got the vulgar squirrel Conker, Live and Reloaded. And platformers for the longest were the biggest games out there, the most popular, the ones that people bought consoles for. And this was definitely towards the tail end of that, but still, with a game like Conker was always definitely a favorite of mine with the rare IPs. It's humor. It wasn't for kids. As a teenager at the time, I loved all that stuff. I loved all this, especially edgy humor. I was a huge fan of edgy humor, and Conker fits that, man. And Live and Reloaded, you have a Conker, who's still an asshole, still a drunk, and all this other stuff. It's a wonderful experience. So yeah, Conker, Live and Reloaded at 17. And at number 16, Halo 2. What can anybody say, man? When Halo 2 first came out, it was an event. It was one of those times, and for people who lived through that time, most of them have fond memories of Halo 2. That game was so fucking massive that really, I can't really even put into words on just how massive the game was at the time, how much of a hit it was, and how much it did for Xbox. That was during the golden age of midnight launches and stuff, and the game was fucking awesome. It was amazing. It was incredible. It was a spectacle. It pushed gaming forward, and how video games, looked, played, sounded, and everything. So yeah, Halo 2 at number 16. At number 15, we got the greatest NFL football game ever, NFL 2K5. This game is partially why I hate modern Maddens. Well, that because modern Maddens are awful, full of microtransactions, my ultimate team, and all that garbage. But the fact that this game from 17 years ago does more then than Madden games now is astonishing. For the love of God, it's been again 17 years, and Madden games still don't do the hot, the halftime highlights the way 2K does. The level of depth 2K5 had is unmatched, and with it being the last in the series, I think part of that really is why it stands out even more. But not only that, the game at the time released at $20. It was a massive hit, especially on Xbox. The Xbox version of 2K5 outsold Madden on Xbox. And that part of that had to do with EA's tumultuous relationship with Xbox in the beginning, but still, ESPN NFL 2K5, number 15, the best fucking football game, NFL game there is. Somehow, it hasn't been topped. It makes no sense how that's not possible with the technology, but that's the case. At number 14, we got what many would consider the greatest Star Wars game ever, Star Wars Battlefront 2. This was, this is stuff like this is why I miss LucasArts and hate, the EA era of Star Wars. And while the EA Star Wars games are improving, after disaster with Battlefront 2, you had Jedi, The Fallen Order, which was great, some people's game of the year, Star Wars Squadron, which was a lot of fun, and all this other stuff. But man, Battlefront 2, this game lives in people's hearts when it comes to a game that I know people sunk their teeth into. This was it. It had everything. Awesome campaign, incredible multiplayer, and this was a day and time during that era where Battlefront 2 was just something else, man. So easy for the number 14 spot. At number 13, we got Splinter Cell, Pandora Tomorrow. Now, what can I say about Splinter Cell, Pandora Tomorrow? Well, stealth games are one of my favorite genres ever. I love the ability to sneak around, get kills, be a master of disguise or the master of the shadows, and find ways like that to complete missions. And Pandora Tomorrow really built off this first Splinter Cell excellently. The game looked phenomenal at the time on the original Xbox, and it played even better. Yeah, Pandora Tomorrow, man, with the legendary Sam Fisher, and you don't even see, I feel like you don't even see stealth mechanics the way they pulled it off in this game and other other stealth games that aren't Splinter Cell or games that try to do stealth doesn't touch what a game like this was doing. So easy, number 13 spot. At number 12, you have this amazingly fun superhero game, Hulk Ultimate Destruction. First of all, this is easily the best Hulk game ever. Secondly, this is easily the best Hulk game ever. I mean, no, all jokes aside, Hulk Ultimate Destruction is the type of game that I just love. You give me a badass like Hulk, and you just ask me to go around, beat shit up, blow shit up, tear everything down. The destruction was awesome. The boss fights were fun. Oh man, this game was one of those adrenaline pumping games I remember where it's like, fuck yeah, man, let's do this. Hulk Ultimate Destruction, baby. Because when I think of the Hulk video games, this is what I think of. This game was freaking awesome. Yeah, so if you haven't played Hulk Ultimate Destruction, you're a superhero and a comic book fan, give it a try. At number 11, we got Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. You know, it's kind of cool. Lord of the Rings is an IP that has produced some really awesome video games. And, you know, one of the best is definitely The Two Towers, you know, based off the movie. This game was freaking awesome. It did so well, a lot of that third person combat and all that stuff. And if I'm not mistaken, it followed the movie very well as too. Yeah. So, you know, when I think of a game that's one of my favorites from that OG Xbox console, this is one of them. Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers, man. That game was badass. And for a licensed game, you know, and at the time, licensed games had some very mixed reactions. This was one that broke, you know, that trend. And at number 10 is Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic. Oh man, Knights of the Old Republic. Now this was my favorite Star Wars game of that era, and it was an RPG. And you know, even though turn-based isn't always my thing, every once in a while I'll play a turn-based game that just clicks with me, and this is one of them. Knights of the Old Republic from BioWare was next level awesome, and it told this deep story. It looked great at the time. The way that you customize your character was fantastic. The gameplay was a lot of fun. This game was so good. It was one of those games that I classified as addictingly good, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. I think if you're a Star Wars fan, you love it even more than I do. And I mean, it makes the top 10 for a reason. And at number 9, we got Panzer Dragoon Orta, a rail shooter, a classic rail shooter. Panzer Dragoon was always awesome. This is another game. Actually, now I think about it, another number of these games are playable on modern Xbox consoles if you want to give it a try. This one had a remake recently that I picked up for $6, but this is about the original. Well, yeah, the Xbox version, right? So yeah, awesome, you know, rail shooter from that era. One of the best games out there, in my opinion. And this was during that Sega Xbox partnership that produced all them awesome games. And so this is a game that I refer to when I'm excited for the Xbox current partnership with Sega. It's something like this: Panzer Dragoon Orta, a rail shooter you can't miss out on. Trust me on this. It's awesome. At number 8 and number 7, I'm going to combine these two because they're a pair of sequels. Is X-Men Legends 1 and 2. I think I spoke about it before. X-Men Legends series are my favorite superhero games ever. These are two action RPGs where you take a group of 4 X-Men, and the X-Men Legends 2 mix a Brotherhood and the X-Men, and you build your characters. You go through these two awesome stories, especially X-Men Legend 2, which I have at number 7, a point higher than the first one. You know, in 2 you fight Apocalypse, and everything takes you through the Age of Apocalypse. In each level you fight each Horseman Apocalypse until you build up to fighting Apocalypse. And yeah, I know I'm saying Apocalypse a lot, but still. And the reason I like 2 more than 1 is that 1, it had more powers, had more characters, and the way that you could build your characters. You know, you could do them differently. Like in 1 playthrough, you could use Iceman and have him more melee focus. And another one, you could have him more range focus. Or my favorite character in the game was Storm. One way I would build her is taking advantage of her lightning powers. The other type is wind powers for elemental damage. It's stuff like that added that extra bit of RPG element to X-Men Legends 2 that made me like it more. But X-Men Legends 1 was also phenomenal, and it had a more focused story and focused on Magma as the main protagonist, but you still use all the other X-Men, up to 15 X-Men at the time. But yeah, these are 2 pairs of games that I will rant and rave about with the highest honor and glory all the time. My favorite superhero games, X-Men Legends 1 and 2 at 8 and 7. And at number 6, we have Jet Set Radio Future. Hey, it's that Sega and Xbox partnership again. Yeah, another amazing game from that era that these two worked on. That Sega produced and came to Xbox. And to say that I love it is an understatement. You know, this game was so unique, so creative. This was one of those games when it came to Xbox that it was why Xbox was my favorite console of the 6th generation. You know, it came out around 2002, and you know, I got my first original Xbox in March 2002, and this was one of the earlier games I had with it. And this game, you know, it's something that on the surface, I probably wouldn't have even played, but I'm glad I gave it a try at the time and loved it. Yeah, Jet Set Radio 2 is an excellent game on the original Xbox, and it's number 6 on my list. At number 5, we got Fable. Fable. Another wonderful RPG from that era that, again, it changed everything when it came out. From Peter Molyneux and Lionshead Studios. Bruh, Fable was so innovative and so good and so great that it was one of those games where at the time when you beat it and it's like, oh my goodness, this is my favorite game ever. You know what I'm saying? That's how good the game was. The game was so fun and so innovative and so unique, and that look, it's kind of hard to say because I think if you're an Xbox fan, you know Fable quite well, and you know the impact Fable 1 had on the Xbox brand, and it added that element of something that you know Xbox hasn't had until recently when it got all these RPG studios. So yeah, Fable is one, you know, and it's kind of funny because I didn't play Fable when it first came out. It actually took me a long time to play Fable for the first time, and when I did, it's one of those games where you retroactively look at it and like, damn, I wish I experienced it back in 2004 when it first came out, because that's how good it was. But with that said, I loved it so much it made it at number 5. And number 4 on my top 20 favorite Xbox games of all time is this incredible little game called Def Jam Fight for New York. What can I say about this game? You know, as a big hip hop fan, this, and then not only that, this was for my era of hip hop. You know, this game had Luda, Snoop, Method Man, Redman, Ice-T, Exhibit, Busta Rhymes, Flavor Flav, Scarface. You know, for all my Houstonians out there, I had Scarface, a little Flip in it. It even had, you know, women like Lil Kim and Carmen Electra, right? And the gameplay is a more arcade style of the old N64 AKI Aki wrestling games, you know, like WrestleMania 2000 and WCW vs NWO Revenge. But here, the story mode is so damn good, and then with the customizations you could do with your character, you know, you can give them Jordans and Reeboks and stuff. The game understood the culture at the time, the hip hop culture, and it was one of the very few games that understood black culture in general and urban culture in general, and so it has a lot of love for many of us. And the game is rare and I don't know if it's rare, but it's expensive as hell now if you want to buy it. But if you could get your hand on it, trust me, you're gonna play one of the best. Like it's not even much really a wrestling game anymore, if I'm to be honest with you, because it has different fighting styles. You know, you do have like your wrestling, your submission, your kickboxing, and things like that. But I mean, you just gotta play it to see what I'm talking about. Def Jam Fight for New York is incredible. At number 3, we got Ninja Gaiden Black. Ninja Gaiden Black, you know, I love hack and slash games, especially that era of hack and slash games, and none did it better than Ninja Gaiden Black. And Ninja Gaiden was a tough game. Well, Ninja Gaiden has always been tough, and this was no different. Tomonobu Itagaki's take on the classic franchise came to Xbox at the time, and it blew my mind. And I think it is one of the best received games on the Xbox in general. You know, you got this awesome hack and slash combat, amazing boss fights. You know, the game is one of those games where it's tough, but it's rewarding. And part of that is what makes it so great. And then being so different mechanically to the classic Ninja Gaiden games, I think really just added its own flavor and gave it the sense that, yeah, this isn't your Super Nintendo Ninja Gaiden. This is modern, you know, at the time, modern day 2004, 2005 Ninja Gaiden, bitch. And that's how it is. Ryu Hayabusa, one of the coolest protagonists in video games. Ninja Gaiden Black is one of the best ever. And number 2, we got the BioWare RPG classic Jade Empire. And this game came out at the tail end of the Xbox generation, so I don't know how well it did. And this is a game that you know, if you didn't play it back then, hey, it's playable on modern Xbox consoles. But yeah, this RPG was so creative and so unique that it's definitely up there in some of BioWare's best work. This was definitely that BioWare golden age from about 2004, I'd say 2003 to 2010, right? Where the RPGs they were making are some of the best in history. You know, from Knights of the Old Republic, which came out in 2002 or 2003, up until, you know, around Mass Effect 2, that Dragon Age Origins era. Jade Empire was smack dab in the middle of it, and it is by far the most unique of it because, you know, it's the one that doesn't have a sequel or nothing. So that's why I question how well it did. You know, it doesn't have a sequel, but if you're an RPG fan like I am, you know how good this game was. Told a cool story. The gameplay was a lot of fun. The RPG elements was very, very well done. This was some of BioWare's best work, and it was so good, it's number 2 on my all-time favorite OG Xbox games. But there can only be one. And this original Xbox game is my all-time favorite. It's the one that blew my mind at the time. It's the one that made Xbox. And you know what? Technically, it's not even an Xbox game. You know, Xbox exclusive, I mean. But it did run better on Xbox than its competing platform, the PS2 at the time. And that's Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. This game is one of my favorite games I ever played in my life. This game is so beyond incredible. The stealth elements, the gameplay, you know, even the story it told. This was Sam Fisher at its best. It even had a multiplayer aspect at the time that was very good, but which admittedly I didn't really play. I don't remember playing it at all. What I remember was playing this amazing game and being the most badass, stealthy Sam Fisher, guy out there. Splinter Cell Chaos Theory is my number 1 favorite original Xbox game of all time. And, you know, I think that as Xbox hits 20 years, that we definitely continue to celebrate such an amazing job the consoles did. And this is the one that started them all. And this is the game that really cemented Xbox as, you know, this is my new favorite platform. I was a Sega guy before this. And, you know, I was hyped for the original Xbox when I first got it. And I was loving it and loving it and loving it. Then this game, Splinter Cell Chaos Theory, came out. It had incredible reviews. I remember the X-Play review of it, you know, like the back of my head. Because that X-Play review was what made me finally buy it. And the video games were $50 at the time, so not super expensive, right? Even for somebody like me who's a teenager in 2005. And when I played it, this game was an experience. And for that, it deserves the number 1 spot. So with that said, let me know what your favorite original Xbox games are, and I'm out.